Anyway, also on the horizon is Dynasty Warriors Origins. And Jada, you got a chance to play around with that. What's going on with that?
Man, I did not have me falling back in love with Dynasty Warriors and on my bingo card for this year. I got to go play Dynasty Origins for about 2 hours or so a couple weeks ago, and it is so good. It feels like when I'm looking at the screen of playing Dynasty Warriors now, it's that phenomenon when you like play a remake or a remaster. It's like, this is what it looked like when I played it in my head when I played it as a kid. It looked just like that. There's characters everywhere and everything is bigger and prettier, and it's like it just felt like that. It's great. The combat still has the hack and slash mechanics and stuff that you expect from a Dynasty Warriors game when you play on like the lower to medium difficulties. So if that's what you enjoy about the Dynasty Warriors series, you'll be right at home playing that. But for those who are more, I'd say, Souls adjacent or really enjoy those games where you've got a perfect parry and perfect dodge and be really deliberate with your attack combos and chains, turning the difficulty up to the hero mode difficulty, which is 3 of, I believe, 4. I believe the developer said that there's one more difficulty that unlocks after you finish the campaign. Or it's just New Game Plus. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But that when you get to that difficulty and you're playing there, like regular swarms of enemies will just like jump attack you all at the same time from different directions. And so if you're not parrying or blocking those attacks, you just see chunks of your health just evaporating very quickly. You're seeing footage here of me running around with the gauntlets, taking on some of the generals. This was like my first fight with the gauntlet, so I'm like figuring everything out. You can see the perfect parry if you're watching the on screen there. It's very flashy combat. There's a lot of really cool abilities. A bunch of weapons to choose from. I messed around with the gauntlets, a sword, and like a staff, giant red staff, kind of like Goku uses.
Hell yeah.
A lot of fun with that. I also unlocked, by beating a general, you'll see on screen as well, there's a general with dual like halberds or great axes. After I beat him, I got those weapons. I didn't get to use them because I didn't play a mission after this to try them out. But there's tons of weapons like that. There's a bunch of, you have customizable weapon arts that you can equip to do different things, like having a bigger parry that has you like, a smaller window for a parry, but bigger counterattack if you manage to land it. There's attacks that give you invulnerability. There's attacks that like kind of warp you forward and kick through people. Like there's so much stuff with this one. You get to pick a allied general to kind of team up and party with as you go through that follows you, and you can team up for what are called these new ultimate or extreme Musou attacks. I'm trying to go off of memory off this one. But these are just even bigger, more grandiose attacks that kill hundreds and hundreds of people. And Lubu is back. And I'm sad to say and report, I did not take him down. I failed. Y'all can have my gamer card. I did not beat Lubu in this demo on the hero mode difficulty. I actually had the PR person reach out to me if anybody beat him or got past where I got him, because I got him down to about like 30-40% HP and triggered like the second phase of the fight, which is a very Souls kind of thing.
Who Lubu is?
Who's Lubu?
If you're not familiar with Dynasty Warriors, Lubu is this kind of mythical warrior that basically was known as like the biggest badass on the battlefield. You do not challenge Lubu in a one-on-one fight. You do not take him on unless you want death. Because that man is just revered across the armies. And just put it this way, in this game, when he comes into the fight, I felt like he was the main character of the game. He came in on his horse, rode through my entire army, knocked them all back like out in this giant circle, cleared out huge chunk of my forces, probably racked up like 300-400 kills with one attack. And then it was like, all right, your turn. And they rolled up on me on his horse to fight.
So what do you do if you can't? Do you just like run away or like just avoid him?
So like in this one, like so Dynasty Warriors so Dynasty Warriors, like Lubu is generally an optional fight in earlier missions, which is what I was fighting him in. And you generally just have to like complete other objectives and then like cause the army to retreat, and then he retreats with the army. Eventually you do have to take him on in later fights, at least in previous Dynasty Warriors games. And then at that point though, you've kind of leveled up, you've gotten new skills, your stats are higher, so you have a better chance. But fighting him here at this level, like is not recommended for most. And so it's one of those kind of like get good, kind of check your skill level kind of moments where it's like, how good am I at this game?
I just pulled up a picture of Lubu. He looks badass.
Yeah.
Except for the pigtails. It's not that intimidating.
I mean, those are I forget what type of like feathers those are or whatnot that he drapes, but it's like that's very Lubu. That's his style. But yeah, no, it's everything about this game. It looks and feels great. The combat feels great. Combos feel great. Customization. There's skill trees. There's like a whole new retelling of the story. It takes place in an earlier time period during the war. From the novels, so all the characters look younger and hotter. So it's it's like that. It's like Mulan, where you're like in the training camp, and it's like, oh, he's hot. It's kind of that kind of era of like hot generals. I
love that this has that like, obviously like trying to make everything look great and realistic, but then also they're like, no, but everyone should be really sexy and all the fighting should kick ass. This dude's going to jump off a cliff with 2 axes on his horse and it's going to land. It's going to be a shockwave. And it's like, but also it's historically accurate. It's like definitely of that kind of giant enemy crab, historical game design approach, I feel like.
Yeah, you play as a original protagonist that's in the story, so you're kind of getting that kind of like view through new eyes. You get to interact with the characters in between storylines. They weren't going too deep into details about like how like not like social link level wise like deep, but there is like conversations and you build up like trust with allies and stuff like that. And depending on certain actions you take, things can be a little different with your options and what you have available in later parts of the game. They have a hub world map to kind of explore that's kind of diorama like that you can use to explore and visit different towns. So you can buy items or talk to NPCs for information, take on side quests, extra missions, that type of stuff. I don't know how big the map is exactly. Most of it was like blacked out. But I did catch a fast travel button option in there. So that means that, looks like there's lots of areas that you'll be warping between to like kind of like, oh, I need to go back. I can go back and try that Lubu mission now because I feel strong enough to finally take him on. Let's see, what else is there? There's the tactics and stuff. I think that's been in Dynasty Warriors before. That's basically where you can command groups of things like archers to fire a rain of arrows and do different things. These type of tactics are good on their own, but if you use them at like the ideal time, then they have like larger effects and they can be like big morale shifting things in battle. And morale is an important thing in Dynasty Warriors. The higher your team's morale is, the more damage your army does, the less damage the enemy army does. The higher morale they have, the more defensive they are, the more damage you have to do to break through their guard. There's a lot of that aspect. One thing I'm sad I didn't get to see is there's a feature where you can, if you walk up to certain generals, you'll be able to challenge them to like a one-on-one fight, and then they create a arena kind of didn't they do that in like 300 where like they basically circled off the fight and people fought kind of like one-on-one. Apparently that's in the game, but I haven't seen that. You guys are gonna see a lot of deaths in this footage because I was fighting Lubu. Totally just figuring things out.
This is cool. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. Like I guess I'm just sort of expected Dynasty Warriors games to come out like every 20 minutes, but this is the first one since 2018, which it's been a minute.
Yeah, the first core game. Like they've done a lot of collaborations. They had the Hyrule Warriors on Switch as well as the Fire Emblem Warriors series as well.
They did Dragon Quest,
and they did Dragon Quest as well. Yeah. So they've been doing them, and they've been kind of. I asked them about that, like what they kind of took from those games, and they said specifically like Fire Emblem, they kind of took this kind of like arcing kind of storylines and paths about with communicating with different people, which is a big part of Fire Emblem. So I'm excited to see how that kind of weaves itself into Dynasty Warriors. But yeah, and there's the good news is for everybody watching this, there's a demo out tomorrow because this will be going up on Thursday, so it'll be out Friday the 22nd. So everybody will be able to go and get their hands on it and try it out. I think the only real downside I had with this one is it's single player only, which is the first in a long time for Dynasty Warriors. that you haven't been able to just invite a buddy online to play co-op or couch co-op with. This has always been
why they decided on that.
I think it's just because of the storytelling element. I feel like because they put such a larger focus on retelling the story in a new way, that it probably just didn't gel well in a co-op style or multiplayer style. But regardless, there's a lot of really cool elements, and the combat, like I said, it's hard to talk about a lot of things without constantly going back to the combat in the Dynasty Warriors games, because the games are generally like,
it's for making the Warriors you say Dynasty Warriors, and they do. That's what the combat is for. You're talking about like social links, and I'm just like, that's great and all, but like that's not really. I feel like titular Warriors. The appeal is swinging your sword, lance, axe, whatever, and wiping out hundreds of people per swipe. And it's great. Special moves are fantastic and way over the top. The Musou specials are wonderful and flashy. Like, it's basically everything I want out of a Dynasty Warriors game, minus the co-op features. So that rules. And that's out January 17th.
Yep.
Which is, I feel like that's going to be one of the first big games of the year. That's awesome.